The housing market just hit a new historic low in this key area, and this is not going to be good for hopeful new home buyers who are already facing an affordability crisis. And here's why. We have reached the lowest number of homes on the market for the first time in recorded history, according to Redfin, at just 1.4 million homes. This is a 7.1% year-over-year decline. And when you compare this to 2019, when we had more than 2.2 million homes on the market, that is a 40% decline from just 4 years ago. And while it may be true that the rise of interest rates are affecting the housing market and are certainly one of the main reasons that people are not listing their home for sale, there are also other major factors that are playing into this crisis. The number one problem plaguing the housing market year over year is the housing shortage. And the housing shortage is something that I've been talking about for a couple of years now since the pandemic. This is the more than 6.5 million home shortage that we are experiencing since the 2008 crisis. So if you're new to this, you may be wondering, what exactly is the housing shortage that we're talking about? It is not the shortage of homes on the market. No, this is the shortage of homes being built to keep up with demand. So for example, from 2012 through 2022, there have been 15.6 million new households formed. And during this same period, there were only 11.9 million homes built. And while it is true that for a period of time since 2021, homes have been being built at their fastest rate since 2012, it is yet to be seen if this rate will continue long term. And keep in mind, when you build a house, it takes about 6 to 12 months to complete. And what that means is that there's no housing relief on the shortage front for quite a while, in the years actually. And actually, at the current rate that we're building homes, the housing shortage would never catch up to the households formed. If we started building 3 times the amount of houses per year starting today, it would take about 4 years to close that 6.5 million gap. That means we'd have to triple the amount of homes we're building starting overnight. So that's obviously not going to happen. However, if we could increase homes being built by about 50%, then that would get us to ending the housing shortage in about 10 years, which is still a long time away. And that's a rate that we haven't seen since the 1970s. These numbers also don't account for the amount of homes that go unlivable and never get fixed up. For example, all those houses that you see that are just sitting for years and just going to waste. So what does this all mean for the state of the housing market? You may look at the state of the economy and the high interest rates, which are currently sitting around 7% now, and think that that cannot be good for the housing market and may cause a crash on the housing market. In fact, a lot of people are saying that because of these factors, the housing market has to collapse. And I do see that a lot, and if you're thinking about it, it kind of makes sense. You would expect a housing market to crash if interest rates are high and people are losing jobs and such. But so far, we haven't seen an indication of a housing market collapse like 2008 in any shape, way, or form. However, in some markets, such as Massachusetts, we've actually seen a 1.7% increase in home prices. But countrywide, we have seen prices cool off and come back to a more normal level and not rise nearly as fast as they were over the last few years. And in some places, we have seen a decline, but again, this is a market-to-market situation. The side effect of low inventory and the housing shortage, combined with other factors such as high interest rates and other economic factors, with the lower housing inventory, there's still about equal demand for housing. In fact, the median sale price across the country only fell by 3.1% year over year. And if we follow the rule of 1/10, you would expect for every 1% interest rates climb, the value would be 10% lower. That's because for every 1% of interest rates, your buying power decreases by about 10%. But when we look at the past year, interest rates have gone up by 1.5%, yet prices have only gone down by about 3%, as I mentioned. So there's 15% less purchasing power, but the prices have not reflected that yet. But what that does mean is that homes today are 12% less affordable than they were a year ago. So my main point is just that the housing market has not played by the normal rules that you would expect. So any precedent from the past doesn't necessarily apply to what could happen over the next 3 to 5 years. But let's just talk about affordability for just a minute so you get a sense of how this is affecting people. So let's take the median home sale price in the country of $419,000 and see what you would have to make to buy it. If we take the current interest rates today and calculate with a 7% down payment, which is the average first-time home buyer down payment, that means the monthly payment for this $419,000 house would be $3,074 per month. If you compare that to a year ago, that same house would have been $2,636 per month. But if we take that even further back to 2 years ago, when interest rates were down to 2.88%, for that same house, the mortgage payment would have only been $2,162. That means just in the last 2 years, $900 more in just interest has gone to your mortgage payment on a house. So when we compare how much income you need to have to qualify for that house, let's take a look at that. So today, with mortgage rates how they are, you would need to earn $79,000 a year with no debts such as a car payment or credit cards in order to afford this $419,000 house. Obviously, when you have monthly debts like a car payment or credit cards, that also reduces your buying power, so keep that in mind. But when you compare that to 2 years ago, you would have only needed to earn about $57,000 in income to afford this same house. So that means just because of interest alone, you need to have earned or got a raise of $22,000 in the last 2 years. Now, how many people did that? So you can further see why the housing market has continued to have an affordability crisis on top of that. And that has contributed to the housing market slowing down. So affordability will continue to be a concern for hopeful homebuyers across the country. And that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.